and welcome to another episode of our webinar series. My name is Trina Dunning, International Manager for LIC. And today I have with me Bruce from Beacon. Hi Bruce, how are you?
Hi Trina.
Good to catch up with you again. So Bruce, tell me what's your role and what does Beacon do?
Well, as you said, Bruce Richards from Beacon Automation. I'm the General Manager of Beacon. We've been here again at Fieldays in New Zealand. It's a great show for us every year. It's great to catch up with the dairy farming community here and the broader agricultural industry. So yeah, Beacon, we've been around for 30 years or over 30 years now. And all we do is we just manufacture heat detection for dairy cattle, but also beef, certainly in recent years.
So Beacon Automation, 100% LIC owned, but you're not based in New Zealand.
That's right, Trina. Look, since 2016, actually, LIC took over ownership of Beacon. And since that time, we've been supplying branded product for LIC, which they distribute around the world with their distributors. But also Beacon, although based in Australia, we also export to nearly 50 countries around the world now.
So Bruce, heat detection devices. So why is heat detection so important?
Well, it's really important because if farmers are using artificial breeding programs, they really need to identify when their cow is most fertile. And so to enable that happening, you need to use some device or some means to identify when that cow is ready to breed and then use those improved genetics.
So Bruce, for a seasonal pasture grazing system, the cows are all out in the paddock. So would heat detection be more critical in that type of a system?
Oh, absolutely. Certainly New Zealand's a very strong pasture-driven market, but as are many of the international markets. And the reason it becomes really critical using some form of heat detection is that you're not out there watching the cows all the time, so you're not sure who is actually on heat. And so by using heat detection devices, it really enables you to know which cows are the ones that day that need to be inseminated. Yeah.
And so poor heat detection or not doing any good sort of a heat detection practice, there must be some really negative impacts.
Absolutely. Certainly if you don't identify the cows which are in heat, you've got a strong risk of actually wasting that insemination and all the service costs that go with that. And so that's the immediate effect by not using good heat detection. But the secondary issues are that you're potentially going to miss that heat, which also then means that you're going to delay milk production down the track, but also have delayed calving as well. So there's a lot of flow-on effects if you don't get that heat detection right in the first place.
In a seasonal calving system, it's keeping that calving interval tight.
Certainly in a seasonal program where everybody wants to ensure that everything that needs to occur is happening at the right time, there's a lot of time pressures on there. So a wasted heat detection really expands and extends that breeding season.
So Bruce, there are many types of heat detection methods or aids. So what do you see people using out there?
Certainly, whether it's in New Zealand or even globally, the more common forms of heat detection are obviously initial visual, and then it tends to progress through to tail paint, and then through to patches like we manufacture, and then certainly in recent years there's been an availability of wearable type devices. But with all heat detection, no matter what type is being used, it should always be used as a guide. At the end of the day, somebody still needs to be a farmer and need to be able to observe the signs of the cattle to ensure that they are indeed actually in heat. And so it's always good practice to use at least a couple of types of heat detection devices just to ensure that those cows are in heat.
Bruce, can you tell us a bit more about your product range?
Yes, certainly, Trina. Look, we've got two main styles of product. One is our basic entry-level product, and it's the Scratchy. So a nice, simple, easy product. It's self-adhesive. You just peel it off and apply it over the back of the cow. And what occurs when that patch gets mounted upon, the top silver layer comes off and it actually exposes the colour underneath there. And what it looks like, similar to what we have here, you've got the original patch and then progressively colour gets exposed as it gets mounted more and more. So that's probably people transitioning from tail paint, that would be the product which they would normally go to. The next step up from there is our heat seeker product. And it's similar size, and that's again self-adhesive, so really easy to apply, and it actually has a time delay in it to prevent a lot of false positives. So if the cows are in an area where there's a lot of trees or even if there's chinning occurring in early heats, it won't activate. It actually needs a sustained pressure to eventually fully change colour. And again, you can see here, from early activation through to full activation is about 11 hours. And if people are using sex semen where the timing of that insemination is really critical, that product is really one of the easiest ways to actually identify the best time to do that insemination.
Fantastic. Now I'm going to ask you, so when is the best time to put on the patch or the scratchy, and where do you put it?
Yeah.
And I see you've got a cow over here. Let's go over here and you can show us.
Let's do that. Okay, so when do you apply the patches and where do you put them? Well, as you're coming into your breeding season, certainly you're wanting to apply them before that predetermined time, and typically you might put them on maybe 2 weeks beforehand. The adhesive system is very strong, so the patch will remain in position until that cow does come into heat for that first time that season. And where we normally place them, where you have the line across the hips of the cow, just slightly back from that. And typically the patch would be applied just behind that area there. And unlike tail paint, which is normally on the tail head, it's further forward, and that's where the brisket or the chest of the cow will apply most pressure to the patch. Same goes with the scratch product, and it's actually mounted across the spine in a similar position there. If there is a dip in the spine, you would just come a little bit further back to ensure that the patch really gets that pressure from the mounting chest. So that's the ideal time and where you would actually mount the patches.
So Bruce, why do you think your products are actually really suited to a pasture farming seasonal system?
Yeah, well, as I said before, we've been producing these patches for over 30 years now, and we have designed them specifically for pasture-based systems. And a lot of that is about making sure the products are really simple, and that comes down to simple to apply, simple to interpret, and also, as a lot of farms have new staff coming on, all the time changing staff, it's really easy to train those new staff members about how to apply and interpret the patches. So it makes for a really simple process to determine the heat detection. But also, as sex semen is being used more and more, which has a more critical timing window for insemination, being able to take that simple information from the patch, particularly the dye-based patches, farmers can use twice a day inseminations much more accurately because that patch gives them that information which other systems don't.
So Bruce, if you were to give 1 or 2 pieces of advice to our farmers who are listening, is there any key message that you'd like to share?
I think with all aspects of farming, make sure you don't overcomplicate it. Our patches really are designed to make the job very simple, and I think if that carries through to all aspects of farming, it makes life on the farm so much easier.
It sounds good. Thank you so much, Bruce.
Terrific.
It's been a pleasure
Thanks,
talking
Trina.
to you today, and thank you for sharing all your wonderful insights, and enjoy the rest of the field days.
Thank you. Great to have you here.
Your site is amazing.
Thank you.
1,